So here we are. You'll notice I had the fuel tank off. We're doing a little bit of, well, let me put it this way. When I get something that someone else has been tinkering with, I want to find out what they were doing. So that's what I'm doing today. Hope that shows. Yes, it shows. Good. Okay, carburetors. 2, 3, 4. This is your constant velocity slide. See how you just move up and down? As you open the throttles here in the back, see that? That's moving, that's the throttle. As you open it, you get a vacuum on the back side of it. There's a port in there that goes up to here, has a diaphragm in there, and it pulls it up until it reaches a constant value. And then more pull, it'll go up. And this little rod right here, that's a needle going through an orifice. And it changes your fuel mixture as it goes up. The more load, the more fuel. So, I've already done these three, but I wanted to show everybody something here that I found. I'm glad I went in here and started tinkering with things. Let me get this out of the way so it's not in my way. Alright. So, long screwdriver. These were real hard to break loose. Sometimes you have to put a slot in them like I did with this one. You can see the slot there. Took a Dremel tool, made a slot in that just for the so I could get it off more easily without stripping the heads. You don't want to strip the heads because then they're impossible to get out, or you have to slot them anyway. So this is stuff you can do with the carburetor still on the engine. So I pull this off, I lay it right here, very careful, don't lose those screws. Spring goes in the back here with all the other parts. This is your diaphragm assembly right here. And that's your needle. And you'll notice it's tapered. So the further up it goes, the more taper it has, means more gas can come in through the orifice. Now, we're going to go over here, take this apart, and hopefully the yo-yo who did this last time was consistent in his, well, illogic as to what he's supposed to do. Let me get this out. This is, there's a spring in here, so you have to make sure you don't do everything, have the spring go bouncing all over creation. There, now, that's the holder and the little spring for it. And here's your needle. Now you notice the needle has this rubber stopper on it. So there's just a piece of nylon, goes over the shaft and holds the needle up a certain distance. This sets how far this goes into the carburetor and allows the mixture, sets your mixture. Well, you put shims underneath this little snap ring to pick it up a 1/2 millimeter at a time, or you move it on these little slots right here, 1 millimeter, to fine tune your mixture during part throttle. What is this thing? What is that? That is a shim. Where is it? On top of the snap ring, not underneath it. So it's not picking it up, it's pushing it down. But when this is all together, you have the spring and this pushing this down anyway. So that's kind of not even necessary to have a shim there. Somebody yo-yo, some person who made a mistake, wanted to put a shim in here. So he put it on the wrong side of the snap ring. Now, I just picked up the whole needle 1/2 millimeter, which means the mixture will go rich about 2 to 3% in the mid-range, which will help my transition throttle. And that's all I had to do was take that snap ring off the top here and put it on the bottom, the shim off here and put it over here like that to pick the needle up where it should have been picked up in the first place. Now I'll put all this together. I don't even need to do that. I just drop the needle in. Drop the needle in here like so. And I put this back on top with the hemostats, and everybody wants to go, oh, hemostats, she's smoking a joint. No, I'm not. I'm using it as a tool. Put that back in there. Make sure it's clicked in place, and it is. It's locked. Can't push the needle up. And then we come back over here. And we very carefully install it. I don't say put it back together, I say reinstall, because I uninstalled it to work on it. Now you notice the needle's hitting there in the bore. So again, you take the tool, the hemostats, and you reach in here very carefully, and grab a little needle, feed it into the hole in the carburetor where it's supposed to go, and slide it in. You don't do anything, you don't push on it real hard. You just, if it doesn't slide together easily, it's not going to go in the first place. You don't want difficult fit. Now I have that in place, and I put the spring back in, and this goes where the little O-ring is in the back. And you just slide her back together, just like that. Now I have shimmed the needles where the shims should be. I don't know what the last guy was thinking when he did that. I have never seen that before. Well, I have seen it, but people, that's because they had slop between the needle and the retaining piece. And they say, so they put some shims in there, but it's usually like very, very tiny amount. That spring on each of those assemblies will hold that needle down. There's no way you can go anywhere else. So that's done. I've already done all four, so that's finished. Now what I'm going to do next, and I'm not even going to show this because this is just basic stuff. Pull loose these tension things right here, little straps, clamps, whatever you want to call them. Pull the carburetors off. I don't even have to undo anything. I just flip them over on the back, and then I pull off the float bowls, and I check what the floats, with the needles, the jets are inside, and then I turn all the idle adjusters in all the way and then back out to make sure they're all basically the same. And on this case, I'm going to go a quarter turn more rich because it has a kind of a little funky idle that's bothering me, and so I'm going to richen it up just a tad on the idle, and then hopefully after I find out what jets are in it, I have, it's supposed to be a stage 2, which is 122.5 or 1.225 millimeters. I'm going to put some ones that I drilled to 1.25, which is just a tad larger. It's one size larger, in place, and I can order some even larger ones if I need to. And that's all to cure that top end richness and the transition little problem I'm having right now. So let me get to that, and I will talk to you guys later.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
Alrighty, we're back. Got the carbs off. We're laying out here. Glad I went here and did this. Double check the last guy's work. Get my little pointing screwdriver here. This is a pilot jet, which controls your low to mid range and your part throttle. Right? This is an air bleed for something else, and this is your main jet. Your stock main jet is a 117. I'll just round that number off. The stock pilot jet is a 12.5. A stage 2 kit, for everybody who's following this, should have a 12.5 and a 122.5. A stage 3 kit will have a 115 and a 125. Stage 4 will be a 115 and a 127.5, and a stage 5 will be a 115 or a 117, or see, a 15 or 17, and a 130. These are 130 main jets. These are 12.5 pilot jets. Means it has the stock pilot jets. Means the idle is going to suffer, and the transition off idle is going to suffer, which I have noticed a little bit. And it's got 130 main jets, which means it's probably too rich on the top end, because I don't have a modified camshaft and things like that that can take advantage of that. So it's trying to give the engine too much gas. What people don't realize is that too much gas is actually just as bad as not enough gas, except that too much gas just clogs things up and makes your plugs run black. Too little gas can cause detonation and melt pistons. So I'm going to pull a plug and see what it looks like, and see if the plugs read in their color what this mixture is actually doing. And then I'll be back.
20 minutes later.
So, spark plug. That spark plug is running too clean. It should be brown, which means it's running lean. Which means, since most of my time is run at part throttle and low throttle, I very seldom get full throttle on this thing, that the jetting for the lower end is lean. The pilot jets are lean, and the needles in the carburetor were lean. So I already did the shim on the carburetor on the needle. I will now talk to somebody about some pilot jets, because those 12.5s should probably be 15s. And so let me look at the other plugs and see what goes on.
12 seconds later.
Okay, all 4 spark plugs out. You can look at the tips and see they're all running about the same. That's definitely a lean run. So before I go do anything else, I'm going to put another shim. I'm going to actually move the keepers on the needles to richen up the very bottom of the mid-range and part throttle. That'll help with that, but I'm going to need some need to open up the idle quarter turn, it looks like, and I'm going to need new main jets and pilot jets. Well, you wouldn't know if you didn't look. People say, oh, that looks wonderful. No, that looks like crap. That's an engine on borderline to the detonation. It's an oil-cooled engine. You got to keep them cool. Can't overheat them very much. So I'm on the edge right here, I would say. So yeah, another shim on each of the needles, or move the keeper down one, and then put in better pilot jets and main jets. But the engine is definitely running lean, so well, we'll get that fixed.